Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another in-depth phone review from a company who was recently featured on the channel, and that's ZTE. And last time I checked out ZTE, that was the Nubia Flip, which if you want to check out my first review of a foldable on the channel, I'll card it up the top for you if you want to take a look at it. That was an okay phone for what it is. It's not the best, but it was one of the cheaper foldables you could get. And I know I said in the video it's a budget phone, but it's budget as in price of foldables. It's one of the cheapest options. But that's not relevant in today's one, because what I'm looking at today, you've seen in the thumbnail and the title, it's the ZTE Z60 Ultra. And people are going to be upset with me in this video for saying Z. Pretty much majority of the time I'm saying Z60. I apologize for that, but it's just the way I say it. So you'll hear me say Z60 a number of times, so I hope you can tolerate that. The Z60 Ultra was released back in December of 2023, and I'm looking at it in August 2024. I honestly thought that I may have been sent the leading version, which has a slightly higher clock speed and a cool looking design on the back, but that's really about it. But ZTE has sent me the standard Z60 Ultra, and I usually take a look at a lot of cheaper hardware on this channel, and I rarely get to play around with more newer tech and flagship stuff, and that's what this Z60 Ultra is. It's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in it, 12 gigs of RAM, and 3 huge cameras on the back, so with its asking price of $649 US, or a bit cheaper if you go on AliExpress, and with the specs it offers, will it be a worthy purchase? Let's find out in this rather lengthy video. But a massive thank you to ZTE for sending me this phone out to me for review. I really do appreciate it. I will say that I haven't been paid for this review, I've just been sent the device to give my honest feedback and opinions on, and that's what I'm here to do, and I have to select paid promotion on YouTube to say that I received an item of value from a third party to feature on the channel, but I will clarify that ZTE did not pay me at all. It was just a simple transaction of they send me the phone, I review it on the channel. That's it. If you'd like to take a look at this, I'll leave some links in the description. One will be to Nubia's official website and the other will be to AliExpress. They're not affiliate links, so I won't earn anything if you go there and click them. If you want to hop onto Google and search for this phone, that is completely up to you. And also don't forget that the timestamps are available for you to skip through this video if you need to. If you want to go straight to the camera test or benchmarks, then those timestamps will help you get there. Currently, the ZTE Z60 Ultra in a 12 gig RAM and 256 gigabyte storage configuration is going for $649 US on Nubia's official website. However, if you go on AliExpress, you can find it on the Nubia official store in the same config for only $531 US, which honestly is a pretty good price for the specs. But I'll display SMOOREZ's jank currency conversion chart for the price of the phone on AliExpress, so that gives you an idea of how much it costs around the world, but keep in mind that's on AliExpress and that may be a limited sale or something like that, but it's from Nubia official, so it should be all legit. Why it's still $649 US on Nubia's official website is a bit odd, but maybe they'll change that soon enough because of the leading version being out. They might discount it. That $531 US converted to Australian is 840 Australian dollars on AliExpress, which, as I said, for the specs, it's a pretty good deal. And fair enough, there's other flagships out there that will have fancier features, but for the price, this does have a lot to offer. Also, the warranty with this is only 1 year from ZTE, but they do offer a 14-day return and refund from Nubia's site, so if you don't like the phone after a few days, then you can just send it back and get your money back, which I hope is as easy as it sounds. Since this is flagship stuff, I'll say that during this review, I'm going to be saying that the phone is excellent because of what specs it packs, because usually I'm looking at cheapo stuff, but I'm going to try and put my mind into a consumer's point of view to give a fair review on this, and the last time I reviewed something powerful on the channel was the OnePlus 11, which I really did like, but that's still a bit more pricier than the ZTE, and my daily driver, which is the S23 Ultra, that's still going for about 2,000 Australian dollars, according to JB Hi-Fi here, but the ZTE is cheap for flagship specs, so what exactly do you get in the Z60 Ultra? Well, I'll tell you all the full specifications so you get a better understanding of what you get for the money. There's 3 color choices for this, including silver, black, and the photographer edition, which looks pretty cool, but as far as I know, you can only get that in 16 gig and 512 gig, which is about $120 US more, but the one I received is just standard black. We have an aluminium frame, glass back, and glass front, which is protected by Gorilla Glass 5. This also has an IP68 rating, which means it has dust and water resistance, which is great to see on this. This phone is pretty hefty, coming in at 246 grams, and the dimensions are 164 by 76.4 by 8.8 millimeters. And the camera bump on this is quite big. You'll see that very soon. The system on chip is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and is based on a 4nm manufacturing process. This is an octa-core processor with 4 clusters and a turbo frequency of 3.3 GHz. And from reports, this chip is about the same as the 8 Gen 2, but I'll be running benchmarks later on to check this, but this is the latest Snapdragon flagship from Qualcomm at this point in time. They will be releasing the 8 Gen 4 in October, I believe. The GPU in this is the Adreno 750 and will handle anything you throw at it, and that goes with the processor as well. You've got plenty of power in this unit. RAM is 12 gigs of LPDDR5X, and you can get this in several different RAM configurations, including 8 gig, 16 gig, and 24 gig, which is a bit overkill there. There is the extended RAM option available on this, however ZTE doesn't include the extended RAM in the advertised capacity, which is good to see unlike some other manufacturers. We get 256 gigs of onboard storage with no microSD card slot, which is to be expected nowadays. You can get this phone with up to 1 terabyte of onboard storage, which is again a bit overkill, but hey, if you folks need it, it's available. The display on this is a 6.8 inch 1116 by 2480 20 by 9 120Hz OLED with 400 pixels per inch and 1 billion colors, and also has a peak brightness of 1500 nits. Now most flagships have a much better resolution on them, so ZTE is kind of playing this one safe at 1080p, but it's still a good display regardless. There's also a pre-applied screen protector on this out of the box, which is good to see. Now there is a nifty thing with the display and the front camera, and I'll be talking about that very soon, because next up we have the cameras in this. So I've got a triple camera setup on the back, including a 50 megapixel main sensor with optical image stabilization, a 64 megapixel periscope telephoto lens that has a 3.3 times optical zoom and also has optical image stabilization. Finally, we have a 50 megapixel ultra wide, which also has optical image stabilization. So all three cameras have OIS, which is awesome to see. It's a perfect setup for cameras on a smartphone. No macro or depth sensors here, but actual proper sensors. You can film up to 8K 30 FPS with the main camera and 4K 120 FPS with the rest. And there's plenty of options in the camera app to tinker around with. And while I'm not going to be showing every single function with the cameras in this video, I'll just try and show the main points of them. We also have a dual tone LED flash on the back, and there's also a ring LED, but I actually have no idea what that means, and I can't work it out for the life of me what it means. The front camera is 12 megapixels with fixed focus, and it only does 1080p video at 30 FPS and does not have EIS. And while the front camera is fairly basic, I would have liked to have seen 4K or 60 FPS with the front camera. However, that wouldn't have been any good because the camera in this is actually an under display one, meaning that the pixels on the OLED cover the camera and hide it when using the phone. And you can still see the camera and the pixels if you look closely at the area, and I'm gonna say, while the tech is cool, it's definitely far from perfect on this, and you'll see during the camera test that ZTE should have just done a hole punch and be done with it, but they kind of wanted to say that their phone has a full screen and hide that front camera, but in doing so the photos are pretty lacking, so you might want to jump to the camera test to see that first. The battery in this is 6000 mAh and is also bundled with an 80-watt fast charger, which is amazing to have. However, one downside with this though is that there's no wireless charging, which is really unfortunate that it's not here, but considering how big this device is, it would have been great to see it. But instead of wireless charging, we do have the 80-watt wide fast charging, which can charge the phone to 100% in just under an hour according to my tests. The OS is Android 14, and ZTE calls their version of it MyOS, and they have added a little bit on top of Android, but it's more just customization options, which I'm honestly fine with. We've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, NFC, no FM radio, Type-C USB 3.1 port with on-the-go support, no headphone jack on this, but you can use a dongle if you wanted to, but that's another thing I would have loved to have seen on this is a headphone jack, because considering how thick this thing is, it would have been cool if they implemented it. We've also got an under-screen optical fingerprint sensor. Speaking of sensors, we've got a gravity sensor, electronic compass, gyroscope, proximity, ambient light sensor, and a sensor hub. We also have stereo speakers in this, which is awesome to see. It also takes advantage of Snapdragon sound and offers DTS for a surround experience. Now we come to the networks, which I've read reports that this may not work properly in the US, but I can't be too sure of this. It works here in Australia on the 3 major telcos from my testing. I'll display the bands list on screen, which is from the Z60 Ultra page on Nubia's website, and look, it should support most major networks around the world, but just make sure you check with your network provider to see if the bands listed are compatible in your country before purchasing. And this is also a dual SIM model with both SIMs running at 5G. There's no eSIM support on this, unfortunately. Would have been good to see, but it's not here. And in the box we get the phone, user guides, standard case, USB Type-C to Type-C cable, which is red. That's cool. SIM eject tool, and the 80-watt fast charger. That is all of the specs of the Z60 Ultra. And as I mentioned earlier, this has flagship specs in it for a decent price, and it all seems pretty good so far. Let's jump to the unboxing and check this behemoth out. This came in an Amazon box, so it was one of those huge boxes, and this was just rattling around inside of it. That's why I've unpackaged it, but this is all still sealed, haven't opened it as of yet. We get a travel adapter, so I'd say there is a European charger that's in here, but I'll use my special power board to be able to test the 80-watt fast charging. The box looks pretty cool though. It's got red, and I like red. On the bottom it just says Nubia Z60 Ultra, and the model being the NX721J. 5G digital mobile phone with 12 gig RAM and 256 gigs of onboard storage. Alright, time to open this up and take a look at this. So here's the device itself. That's got some heft to it. Then we have a quick start guide, and the case, as well as the SIM eject tool just hidden there. A red Type-C to Type-C USB cable, which I really do like. And then in here we have the 80-watt fast charger, which looks a little something like that. It's a US one, I thought it was European. Honestly, doesn't have that much weight to it. It's relatively light compared to other chargers that I've looked at before, but I'll be definitely trying the 80-watt fast charging out on this. And there's all these specs on there if you want to take a look at it. Taking a look at the case, just a standard plastic one, but you can see the massive camera bumps, and it's transparent. And while it doesn't have protection all the way at the sides, you've got these bumpers to hopefully protect it if you do drop it. Here is the Nubia Z60 Ultra. First time I'm actually playing with a device with an underscreen camera as well, which would be really interesting to test. There we go. There it is. Straight off the bat, this just looks so impressive. Same sort of feeling glass on the back. It's kind of got a texture to it, but we've got the 50 megapixel standard camera, the 50 megapixel ultra wide, and the 64 megapixel 3.3 times optical zoom periscope camera just there, looking very nice. We've also got the dual tone LED flash and the Neo Vision just at the top there. But yeah, that's looking very nice. And around the sides, we just have some antenna bands at the bottom, SIM card tray, hole for a microphone, Type-C USB 3.1, and the bottom speaker grill. Then at the side we have a little mute switch just there, which is awesome to see. A red power button, which is also cool to see, and the volume rocker just there. Finally at the top we just have a hole for the secondary microphone, as well as an IR blaster. And let me just say, holding this in my hands, it feels very premium. I mean, holding the Cubot Max 5 compared to this, it's like day and night. And taking a look at the front, I can see the underscreen camera just there. You can see it just poking through the OLED, but once the display is on, then that'll be slightly hidden, which I'll show you that soon. The screen is completely flat, there's no curves, and the body as well is all just completely straight. And I really want to see the bezel sizes on this as well, because they say that it's got almost no bezels, so we'll see. And taking out the SIM card tray, we have support for 2 nano SIMs. Both will run at 5G. And we've got a red rubber ring around the SIM tray because of the IP68 rating. And I'll just put the case on as well, which looks a little something like that. It's a beast of a unit, let me just say that. Those cameras are huge. So one thing you're going to notice with this phone is that it sits on a bit of a slant because of how big that camera bump is. That is a fairly thick camera bump that's on there. Also talking about size as well, I have my daily driver, my S23 Ultra, and in terms of sort of thickness, the ZTE is a bit thicker than the S23 Ultra. They're the same height, but thickness-wise, the Z60 is just a little bit thicker, and because of that camera bump as well. So if you don't like fairly thick phones, this might not be for you. It's not as thick as the Unihertz Jelly Max that I recently looked at. It's kind of like the Pixel 9 Pro in terms of the camera bump. It's fairly big for what it is, and then combined with the phone itself, it looks a little something like that. I honestly don't mind the camera bump and the extra thickness. It doesn't bother me, but it may bother some folks. Even with the case on it as well, it's still propped up due to the camera bump. So I just thought I'd let you all know, just so you're aware of it, because this phone is quite a hefty one. But there's one thing that I won't be doing in this review. Unfortunately, I won't be tearing this down. There are videos online that do show the teardown of this. I honestly want to keep the IP68 rating intact. So at the moment, I don't think I'll do a teardown, but we'll see later on. Let's power on the Z60 and set it all up. Nubia, be yourself. I will. I think I said that in the Nubia Flip video as well. Also, once again, the phone's on 3G at the moment, but it usually takes a while for 5G to kick in. This is with Telstra as well. I might be doing it now, actually. We'll see. I'll do face unlock, just set a pattern, because it's easier. Easy. Okay, we'll set fingerprint as well. I was going to do it on the side, but it's on the front here. So just with the little bit of real estate I have. Done. And default navigation is gestures, but I'll use virtual navigation because I'm just used to it. Here we go. We've booted up. We've got the 120 Hz straight away right there. The colors look pretty damn good. I mean, it's OLED, it's 1080p, it's looking pretty nice and sharp. Also having a look, we really do have minimal bezels. So while we don't have a completely bezel-less display, it's pretty damn close to it. But once again, the colors just look extremely sharp for what they are on this. So the display, even though it's 1080p, which I was a bit worried about, it looks fantastic. I just want to show you how bright this thing gets. So if I bump it all the way up, you can just see how bright it is. And like going into settings and stuff, you can just see how bright the display is. It's not as bright as some flagships and stuff, but at the 1500 nits max brightness that it does get to, that's pretty good. And just testing fingerprint, nice and fast, easy. Face unlock as well. Yep, all good there. Swapping down from the top, I will test the torch to see how bright that is. That's pretty good. And I want to see the ring LED as well. Touching and holding on the main screen, got wallpapers, which is all the stuff that I've shown on the Nubia Z Flip, but there is quite a lot of choices here. But I'll jump into settings. So Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, mobile network, which my SIM is at 5G, I believe. Yep, 5G, so that's all good. I'll give this a call and see how the quality sounds. Oh, not fluty phone. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll splice in the call quality test from the Z60 Ultra, have a listen to it, and see what you think.
Okay, this is the call quality test for the Z60 Ultra. This is the earpiece, and with Vodafone, this is nice and loud. I've also tested this with Optus and Telstra, and both were completely fine in this. Yeah, this is what it sounds like. Sounds really clear for what it is. So let's go to the microphone and have a listen to that.
And the microphone quality on the ZTE Z60 Ultra sounds a little something like this. And once again, sounds great. Sounds awesome. It's nice and clear, which is what I would have hoped for a phone at this price range. So honestly, it's all looking good here. So let's continue on. Yeah, that's nice and loud. That is really good. The default volume for the earpiece was at 50%, but once I bumped it up to 100%, sounded mint. Home screen we don't need to go into. Display, is there anything that I need to check on here? Which the screen refresh rate is at auto, so it'll automatically switch it to whatever it needs, but for this review I'm going to go with 120Hz all the time. Once again, we have the Z Smart sidebar, which if I just do this, I've got quick shortcuts there. So there is the sliding switch settings. So if I do that, it goes into the camera, but you can have it to open the torch, which, yep, that's pretty cool. But what I want is to have it for sound mode, so I can switch it to vibrate. So switch that, vibrate, and then normal. Now battery life, I'm at 83% at the moment. It says we've got 66 hours remaining, but 103 hours with power saver mode. Ultra power saver is 115 hours. I'll do a battery test with this, and also do a charging test with turbocharge on. So I'll see how battery life goes, and I'll splice in the results. So I've done the battery test on this, and I'm happy to report that the 6,000 mAh battery in this definitely holds up. So I played around with it, and then I decided to leave it on standby, and I left it for 200 hours, well, almost 200 hours, and it dropped from what it was out of the box to 1%. So that is definitely great to see on this. And I've been testing this over the last couple of days. And from my testing, just moderate usage, browsing, social media, you should be able to pull at least a day and a half to 2 days out of this. But once again, it all depends with whatever you're doing with this. You can get more out of this by doing ultra power saver, but as it stands, day and a half to 2 days, not a problem with this. And charging this back up from 0% to 10% took about 5 minutes, and to 50% took about 21 minutes, 75% was 34 minutes, and finally 100% was at around 55 minutes. So the 80 watt fast charging is definitely working. While charging this back up though, the phone and the charger does get quite warm, but that's quite normal because of it being an 80 watt charger, putting all the juice into it. So just thought I'd let you all know. And I'm honestly pretty happy with the results I got from this. I was expecting decent results, considering it's 6,000 mAh and an 80 watt fast charger. So all good there. So let's move on. Going through system updates, we'll see if there's anything for this. There might be something. Sure enough, we've got a security patch. So I'll update that. Finally, in About Phone, there it is, iOS 14, running on Android 14. The RAM capacity is 12 gig, but we've got the extended 12 gigs of RAM. That's already kicked in, but as I've mentioned before, that extended RAM honestly doesn't improve performance, from my testing anyways. We'll see what the update bumps it up to, but the security update is January 1st, 2024, and the Google Play system update is July 1st, 2023. So the first thing that you want to do, if you do purchase this, is do some updates. While it's still updating, I'm going to go ahead and open up the camera. There is a lot of options in here. HDR is auto, Smart AI is on. If you want to leave that on, you can. It appears that there's a macro function as well for the main sensor. The 18mm is ultra wide, 35 is standard, and 85 is the telephoto. But we've got camera family, which is a whole bunch of effects there. Street, which gives it a bit of a classic sort of camera look there with a bit of texture. So you can change all of this if you want to. And Pro, you can change all this. Once again, I'll just leave it and just do standard shots with it. Video, there's our optical image stabilization options. Video options, we've got up to 8K at 30 FPS or 4K 120 FPS or 60 FPS, 1080p as well, 60 FPS, which is great to see on this. We have Milky Way night as well, which I guess I can take some photos of the night sky. Portrait mode, which I'll also test. The camera test is going to be very long in this video because I want to test all of the cameras out and test all the functions and everything, which is one of the main selling points about this, is the cameras. So I'll be doing a very in-depth test with them. And switching to the front camera, that's it there. Now, it doesn't look the clearest, but there could be some smudges. No, okay, so it doesn't look that clear. Looks a little bit iffy with the selfie, so I'm going to need to test this device out for a couple of weeks and test all the functionality. I'll take plenty of photos and videos with this. We'll come back, talk about the camera quality, and start testing out this device to see how powerful that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is in this. So we'll be back. Alright, starting off the video test with the Z60 Ultra. This is 1080p, 30fps with the main camera, and this is with standard optical image stabilization on. And as you can see, it is working as it should. This might trigger motion sickness to some folks, but that's looking good. So I'll now go to the ultra-wide camera. So this is ultra-wide, 1080p, 30fps, and as you can see, OIS is definitely working, which is good to see. And the ultra-wide isn't super wide. It's enough, but it's not as wide as what I would have expected. But it's okay though. And the telephoto, 1080p, 30fps, looks like this, and OIS is still working. And there's the froggos down there. But yeah, 1080p 30fps with OIS is looking pretty good, but I'll show you what extreme OIS looks like. Sorry, it's called super OIS, and as you can see, I'm literally moving the camera from left to right and it's stabilized. That's really good. So there's definitely OIS on all the cameras, and they're all working as they should. So for the main video, I'm going to do 1080p 60fps, and I'll do 4K as well. So this is 1080p 60fps with standard OIS mode on, with the Z60 Ultra, and this is what it looks like, and it looks pretty good. 35mm, and I can go zoom in, and I can go back out, but that looks good from my point of view. That looks excellent. The colors are all there. We've got stabilization. It's everything that I'd like to see in a camera. Instead of the cheapy welcomes that don't have any of this, it's all, they're rotten, don't worry about them. It's all good. It's looking pretty good. And then the sky looks really nice, and faraway aircon, look at this. Wee. And, wait, we've got to find the breeze air first. Wait, there it is. Oh, you can do it, buddy. There you go. Okay, that's 15 times. I'll just zoom back out, and yeah. So that's 1080p 60fps. It looks really good. So let me bump it up to 4K and we'll see how it goes. I'm just doing 4K 120fps just to see what it looks like. And I don't know, it looks good, but I don't know, without reviewing the footage back. And you can't really tell because this video is only going to be 30fps anyway, so you can't tell the 120fps going on, but it's super stabilized. This is really nice. Having all three cameras that have stabilization is really awesome. And yeah, there you go. Autofocus is working great. And we'll just zoom in. See the rotten lemons, that's yucky. And we'll go back out again. And yeah, there you go. The phone is getting a little bit warm because of recording at 4K and stuff, but that is to be expected. I'll try some other modes and see how they go. 4K 60fps of the faraway aircon. I'm still shaking, but it's stabilized, so let's just go in. There you go. That's our breeze air, buddy. Wow. So that's the periscope doing its thing there. It's stabilized at 4K 60fps. Everything's looking nice and sharp, which is good. You can see all the cobwebs on the fence. That's bad. But yeah, that's probably the best you've ever seen the faraway aircon, I think. So say hello to it. There it is. Look at it. What a beauty. There's Ripley. That's probably the best you're ever going to look on camera, Rip. Hello. Hi. How good do you look? You always look good. Doesn't matter what camera we use, you always look good. Don't you, Baba? Yes. Oh. You happy? Yeah? Look at you. Look at how good you look. Look at the quality of you, Rip. You're not on a terrible welcome. You're actually on something decent. Boop. I just switched it to ultra wide just to see. But it's not that wide. We can at least have the loaf in frame, you know? Oh, big loaf. Oh, yes. Oh, the patch. Oh, the patch. Boop. Oh, you butthead. Oh, yeah. This is 1080p, 60fps outside with the LED torch on, and it's very bright. It is very, very bright. So that is all good there. And everything's looking very nice. Still have OIS, which is good. And yeah, it's not looking too bad at all. I can't work out the ring LED though. Maybe I'm just silly, but I don't know the ring LED. There's no LEDs on the ring, so I yeah, I must be stupid, but yeah, no, it's looking good. You can start to see the lemon tree and then went all the way to it. There we go. There's any down there. Yeah, it looks really good. I'm liking these cameras, but then, as I've said, I always look at cheap hardware, so when I see something that's good, I'm gonna praise it. Yeah, I'm liking it though. Here's the front video quality of the ZTE Z60 Ultra. Not the best. It's a bit disappointing. It looks just blurry. It looks like there's always a smudge over the front camera all the time. I know it's under display and stuff, and it's sort of new technology. I understand that, but it would have just been much better to just have the circular cutout, to be fairly honest. So then you'd get a better experience, because this is just... I mean, look at that. There's detail, but it's not that good. It's acceptable, but not on a phone for this price range. There is probably some EIS, but there's no EIS listed anywhere, but there probably is some going on, as you can kind of see there, and this is just 1080p 30 FPS. And it is what it is. You've seen the photos, there's not much I can do with the front camera, to be fairly honest. It's not unusable, it just is a bit of a letdown. But the rear cameras, though, are much better, which is good, but I still would have liked the front camera to be a bit better than this. But hey, it is what it is. This is what the selfie camera looks like inside. There is no smudges on the front. This is what it looks like. In low light scenarios, yeah, okay, I'm gonna say that's pretty bad. And coming into some light, still while inside, I can't really say much else about the front camera. It's okay, but it is a bit of a letdown. Oh, this is portrait mode with the camera. Oh, that's cool. Or with video, I mean. I think you understand what I mean, yeah. Alright, you've just seen the photos and videos that I've taken with the Z60 Ultra, and I've got to say I'm pretty impressed by the rear cameras. The main sensor is great, the ultra wide is good, but it's not as wide as I would have expected, and the telephoto with the 3.3 times optical zoom can get a little bit grainy once you've zoomed in. Even with OIS and, you know, trying to hold it and shaking and stuff, it can get a little bit blurry. But altogether, from my point of view, from the photos I did take with this, I think they're amazing. Folks who test high-end cameras may look back on those photos and say, yeah, no, they're not that good. But for me, because I test a lot of cheapo stuff, it's really hard to compare it with something. But look, here's the telephoto. And you can see breeze air, and you can actually see the vents with all the dust in them. I assume that they're dust. It's a little bit grainy, but honestly, it's pretty good. I also had macro mode on, which was pretty useless. Don't use macro mode, because it's just using the main sensor anyways. Portrait also looked pretty good. You can see the background all blurred there, so that's looking very nice. Look at this photo of Ripley. Look at that face. Aww, that's her eating her grass there. So here's the moon, okay? This is me pointing at the moon with the telephoto camera. But if you happen to use the moon setting in the camera options, you get this, which is the moon, but this is not taken with the camera. It's recognizing the moon in the sky, but that's an AI image of the moon that's there because I was standing in the same spot from that to this. That's a first from me. I mean, I wasn't expecting to take quality photos of the moon and see the moon's surface, but knowing that you have AI to jump in and scrub away the actual moon and put a photo of the moon, I mean, it works, it looks cool. Just know that you can't take photos of the moon and make it look, you know, as clear as it does there. But the night shots turned out fairly well. In complete darkness, the lemon tree did brighten up, and the LED flash is also nice and bright, but I still can't get this ring LED thing working. I found out though, that there's no actual LED here. So I'm not sure what ring LED means. No idea at this point in time. Most of the photos had HDR on as well, and this is standard of the lemon tree at night. This is ultra wide with lemon tree at night, and that is the telephoto with the lemon tree. But I tried using night mode with the telephoto, and while I did capture the aircon, it just kind of got a little bit blurry and lost because I'm shaking sort of thing. So the night mode says to hold steady while it's processing, and I'm just sort of all over the place. Also, there was bees, and they were scary. And I was trying to take photos of bees, and I couldn't because they kept moving around. And look, see bee. Look at him. You can see his eyeballs. There's Ripley with her tongue out. I can also say that with the rear cameras, video turned out amazing. 4K, 120 FPS looked great. So this is 8K, and it looks amazing. It looks good. The OIS on all cameras definitely helped with keeping videos nice and steady and trying it in all different resolutions and all three cameras, the results are pretty good from my point of view. However, while I can praise these cameras, I can't praise this camera. The front camera, it's not unusable, but because it's an underscreen one, we've got a layer of pixels that turn off over it. It looks like it's always got a smudge over the camera, because no matter what you do, all selfies just turn out blurry. Obviously this is outside with as much light as I'm going to get, and you can just see how there are details, but it's just very much lost. I know ZTE were going for a full screen display experience, but as I said in the selfie test, I reckon they should have just left the hole punch there. These shots just don't look good, and the same goes with videos as well. Yeah, it's not that good. The underscreen camera is a bit of a gimmick, and like, you can still see this. It started to bug me after a while that I could see that camera sticking out just there. It's like having a white spot in your OLED all the time. And I honestly thought I'd ignore it, but it just sticks out so much when testing it. While you can't really see it on camera, in person, you can see, yeah, you can kind of see it there. It's like having a white blob, and you might be thinking your OLED's damaged, but no, it's not. It's just always there. So pretty disappointed with the front camera, but the rear cameras I'm happy with. So that's talking about the cameras. Now I can update you all on anything else that's happened with this. And I can say that testing this phone out, everything has been nice and snappy, as it should be. With the specs that we've got in this, everything runs fast, everything just opens up quickly, and I've had no issues with it. It does get a little bit warm in some areas, especially when charging up and stuff. And when I play Genshin as well, it did heat up a little bit, but not too much. I also got 4 software updates on this. So the security update is May 1st, 2024, and Google Play is July 1st, 2024. They were security patches as well as general improvements to the phone. I haven't noticed anything different. Everything was pretty much exactly how it was, so it's probably just some minor tweaks that ZTE have done through over-the-air updates to improve performance. Honestly, I've loved testing this phone. While this phone is chunky and it's heavy, it still felt good in my hands using this because it felt like it wasn't going anywhere. It's definitely a two-handed device for me, that's for sure. One-handed device, I'm gonna probably struggle with it, but holding it with two hands, I'm holding it tight, it's not gonna fall, I'm not gonna drop it, well, hopefully. That extra heft to me works because it makes it feel more premium to me, but that's just my opinion though. But other than that though, everything has been working amazing on this. I haven't had a single issue that I've needed to really report with this. I've done a GPS test as well, put it in my car and done some navigation, and it was fine. It's gonna work due to the specs in this. So when it comes to testing out applications on this, we know that this is gonna browse the web perfectly fine, not an issue. It's gonna be perfectly fine with social media as well. So I think what I'll do is just open up DeviceInfoHW, do a gaming test, YouTube, speaker test, and I have to put Geekbench on here as well, so we'll do that. So checking DeviceInfoHW just confirms everything we know about this device with all the sensors, flash, RAM, Wi-Fi, everything there. System on chip, HN3 with the 4 clusters up to 3.3 gigahertz, 4 nanometer, and the Adreno 750 GPU. The codename of this appears to be Pineapple. Screen 2480 by 1116 at 120 Hz with HDR as well, and also 10-point multi-touch, 12 gig and 256 gigs. On board. The cameras only lists 2, but we do have all the sensors listed at the top there, and we've got just the main one and the front there, which does say 8.3 megapixels, but it's definitely 12 megapixel. Battery says 6,000 milliamp hours, and I've only fully charged it once. I've just basically been charging it up for only a couple of minutes while using this at a time. Thermal, you've got a whole bunch there, but it's staying cool at the moment, but once you use more intensive applications, they'll start to pick up a little bit, and in sensors, we've got everything but a barometer. Now, I may as well do the Geekbench test now, so I'll start with Geekbench 5, and I'll compare this with the OnePlus 11 just to see the difference between 8 Gen 2 and 8 Gen 3. And then with Geekbench 6, I'll run it on my S23 Ultra, and we'll compare it with that. We've got 1,683 for single and 6,351 for multi, which I'll display the scores from the OnePlus 11, which got 1,153 for single and 4,775 for multi, so definitely a huge jump there, and also a huge jump from the 8 Plus Gen 1 on the OnePlus 10T. They got 1,017 for single and 3,398 for multi. So from those numbers, this is the most powerful device I've tested on the channel, and probably will be the most powerful device I'll test on the channel for quite a long time. That is some good stuff there. But what about Geekbench 6? Let's give that a shot. So 8 Gen 2 in my S23 Ultra and 8 Gen 3 in the Z60 Ultra. I'll run the benchmarks at the same time, and we'll see which one completes first. And I think the S23 Ultra has an overclocked 8 Gen 2 in it, I think. Let's see which one finishes first. The Z60 Ultra is done. The 8 Gen 2 is lagging behind, but we'll see what the scores are. It'll be interesting to see the difference between the two, because people online have said that the 8 Gen 2 compared to the 8 Gen 3, there's not a whole lot of difference. Well, there it is there. 2096 for single and 5515 for multi on my S23 Ultra, and 2217 for single and 6875 for multi on the Z60 Ultra. So there's definitely a performance increase from the multi-core score there. So the 8 Gen 3 is a lot more powerful than what the 8 Gen 2 is. Not so much in single, but in multi. But once again, these are numbers at the end of the day, so that's some pretty decent performance that we have inside of this. And I can say that Genshin is perfectly fine on this, so I may as well do the gaming test now just to get it over and done with, so you can have a look and see how this runs. I've tried to play Genshin to the best of my abilities and try and actually get some progress in this, but it's just not the game for me. But it's the game that I've tested on a lot of phones before with high-end specs, and I just want to show you how this runs. But there's also a thing with ZTE as well. They have this energy cube thing, they call it. Looks a little something like that. You can do some quick shortcuts here, and you can see like the CPU, brightness, and all that sort of stuff there. But you can change settings here if you want to. I'll just pretty much leave it all as is. But like, here's Genshin. All at the absolute maximum, I believe. Yep, that'd be all the maximum. As you can see, it's perfect. Of course it'll run perfect. No frame dips, no nothing. This is running 60 FPS and it looks great on this display. Like, just take a look at that. It looks really, really, really nice. I wasn't expecting Genshin to be laggy or anything like that on this. It's flagship hardware that we have. The 8 Gen 3 is definitely doing its job. And yeah, it's a really good experience compared to, you know, other cheapo phones that I've had on the channel where Genshin just lags and all that sort of stuff. Having such an impressive phone in front of me, I can't say nothing but nice things about it. I did read in the comments on one of my last videos, people told me some more demanding games, but I don't remember what they were. But I'll assume that any game that's on the mobile market should run 100% on this. So we're not really left with too much to test on this. Everything else that's on this has been working great, but I think the last two things that I need to test are YouTube and YouTube Music. So I'm going to do YouTube first. Of course, we'll be doing Costa Rica 4K. At 60 FPS. Now, I can say with this display, it's not a flagship sort of display, like it's not a high-res display. It's 1080p, which is quite the norm for smartphones, but it's not sort of like Samsung stuff where it's like 3000 by 2000 or something like that. ZTE sort of kept it a little bit safe with this one at 1080p. They could have put a 1440p display on this, but the 1080p display that they have on this is pretty good for what it is, honestly. It's very, very good with colors, brightness, and it's very accurate with everything there. Not that my camera's really doing it justice, but I can assure you that it's all looking really good. And the speakers on this also, I gotta say, they're loud. As well as the vibration motor. That's a haptic one, and it does have quite a bit of punch to it. I'm going to be testing BFG Division and the terrible song that I made with DTS sound on. Plenty of kick. And the top speaker is slightly less, ever so slightly, but if you're holding it in front of you, the stereo effects are there, and honestly, I can't tell an imbalance. It sounds very, very much balanced right there. Then the terrible song that I made. Plenty of kick to it as well, and top speaker, not as powerful, but it's definitely there though. There are definitely some beefy speakers in this that are doing their job, so I have no complaints about them. One thing I didn't test was the IR blaster, because there's no applications on this by default that work with it, so you'll have to pick your own application for it to work. I assume that that would be all good anyways. So look, at this point in time, I've tested the main functions of this. I've tested the cameras, the display, the speakers, 5G, network connectivity, and just sort of the main points that you'd be looking for if you were wanting to purchase this. The price it's currently on AliExpress being $531 US or 834 Australian dollars, I think that's definitely worth it for this. The Snapdragon Gen 3 is Qualcomm's latest processor until they release the 8 Gen 4, which is coming in October. That's going to handle everything you throw at it. We've got 12 gigs of RAM, which is more than enough, 256 gigabytes on board, which is also more than enough. Would have been good to have a micro SD card slot, but it is what it is. And you can always opt for higher storage and higher RAM if you want to, because those versions are available, but you're going to be paying a bit more for them, obviously. The battery in this, being 6,000 mAh, holds up extremely well, combined with the 80-watt fast charging. That is definitely a top point with this. The rear cameras are pretty good for what they are. The front camera, on the other hand, I do have to criticize because it's just not great, being that it's under screen. The build of this is extremely premium, and it definitely feels good in my hands. The switch on the side, I really like, because that's a great little fidget thing. That's really helpful to have. The display on this, having minimal bezels, I do like, and while it is only a 1080p display, I think it does stand out. However, a 1440p display or something a bit more higher would have been appreciated on this, but the 1080p display that we have on this is pretty good. The underscreen optical fingerprint sensor also works every single time that I've tried it. Android 14 on this and getting security updates, which is great. I'm not too sure what ZTE's update plan looks like with this, but hopefully it should get Android 15, but I'm not too sure if they do anything past like 3 years of updates. 5G reception is also great and has been very consistent during my testing. That pretty much speaks for the phone itself. It has been very consistent with me testing this. It is the most powerful phone that I've featured on the channel as of yet, but there are definitely a couple of downsides to this. This is not a perfect phone. Underscreen camera is a bit iffy, but it's okay. Another thing I can criticize with this is the lack of wireless charging. For a flagship like this, and having such a big battery, wireless charging just makes sense. It would have been so good to have wireless charging so you could just plonk, start charging, lift it off, done. That would have been amazing, but unfortunately that's not included, and that's one of the corners that they've had to cut to make this phone more affordable. Even though wireless charging doesn't take that much to implement, it's not here, which, yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I wish there would have been a headphone jack on this. It's such a big device that a headphone jack just would have been appreciated to have on this, considering the size of it anyways. But for the price of this, I definitely think it's worth picking this up. I mean, even at the $650 US price tag, it's still a good phone for the price. But if you can get it even cheaper, then it's an absolute bargain to get such a beast of a unit for that money. I wish I could be more informative in this review and provide more conclusive feedback for you all, but all I can say is it's great. This isn't as expensive as other flagships and does cut some corners to still be a flagship, but at a slightly lesser price than other manufacturers out there. But it's still a great performer for what it is. So yeah, I hope that conclusion is more than enough. I really shouldn't be testing higher end devices on the channel, but I just really wanted to see the performance of the 8 Gen 3 and try the underscreen camera, and I've got to do that. So that's my lengthy conclusion, and once again, I didn't want to write a script down for it. I wanted to just tell you off the top of my head what I'm thinking about this device currently, instead of writing a script down, going through it and saying, oh no, I want to change that and stuff, and most of it is praise for this. If anyone can help me with a ring LED, I don't know what the ring LED is, and I thought it'd be the ring around there, but it's not that, so if you can help me, feel free to tell me what it is. But here's the point in the video where I know I might get a bit of flack for, and that's, I don't want to tear this down. I really just want to keep it in factory condition because I'm just not confident, because the Cubot Max 5 that I took a look at a couple of weeks ago, I cracked the back on that, and I just wouldn't want to crack the back on this. I just don't want to do that. So what I will do is link a video down in the description below, and that's from a creator called Weeky Home or Weekai Home. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, but it is in Chinese, but they do a full in-depth teardown of this, including removing the screen, and there is definitely a huge vapor chamber that is inside of this. I mean, if you folks want me to tear this down, I won't be showing much else from what that video already shows, but I guess if you want me to do it, I can commit to doing it in another video or something. That is everything that I need to talk about with this phone. I love it. I think it's good. It's a hefty phone, but it feels premium and it's got plenty of features. Man, does it pack a punch, being the most powerful phone that I've featured on the channel. So a massive thank you to ZTE for sending this phone out to me for review. I really do appreciate it. And all opinions in this video were my own. I wasn't paid by ZTE to say anything positive about this. They've just sent the sample out to me for review and to let you all know how it went. And that is what I've done. So yeah, a massive thank you to them for trusting me to take a look at another device. And it's much better than the Nubia Flip that I reviewed. I much prefer this than the Nubia Flip, but it is great to test better hardware here and there on this channel, but I will still be sticking with cheapo stuff in the future. It's just these one-off occasions where I get offered something good that I just really want to take it up and have a look at it. And if you're interested in purchasing this, I'll leave a link in the description below, which will be for Nubia's website, as well as the AliExpress listing. So if you want to take a look at both of them, feel free. They're not affiliate links, so I won't earn anything if you go there and take a look at them. They're just there for your convenience. Alternatively, you could jump onto Google if you want and take a look for yourself. You might find it even cheaper. And if you're still hearing me ramble, that means you've made it to the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching this one. I really do appreciate it. But if you had to use timestamps to skip through this one, that is completely fine. That is why they're there. I know I didn't cover absolutely everything in this. I could have spent an easy 2 hours talking about all the features with the cameras and all that sort of stuff, but I wanted to try and minimize this down as much as I could, but still keeping this in depth. So I hope I've been able to achieve a fairly comprehensive review in this one. You'll have to let me know what you thought of this one down below and what you think about the Z60 Ultra if you think it's worth the price. Especially for 850 Australian dollars, I definitely think it's worth it. But as I've said, the under-screen camera lacking and lack of wireless charging are some things to consider, but I think all up, it's a good phone. Considering all the other devices I test on the channel, having something that just performs excellent, I can't help but say good things about it. And I know this was another sample review, but it was offered to me last minute and I wanted to really take a look at it. So I hope you all don't mind, and I also hope that you can sort of understand that I just wanted to take a look at some better hardware for once. But don't worry, we'll be going back to cheapo stuff now, so that's all good. I need to stop rambling because I'm going to keep this video going for longer than it needs to. So thank you all so much for watching this one. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that I've delivered comprehensive enough review for this device. I hope I've done it justice, and I hope you enjoyed having a look at this with me. So thank you once again for tuning in, and as always, please take care, stay safe, be good people, and I'll see you all in the next one, which should be back to cheapo stuff now, because I accepted way too much sample stuff. I know that's not for everyone, but as I said, I just wanted to test some things that I normally wouldn't test on the channel, so at least I've done that now. Now I can go back to cheapo stuff and laugh at stuff. And I've got some AliExpress stuff on its way, so expect to see that hopefully in September, but we'll see how we go. Until the next time I see you all, keep being awesome, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye! If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.